At a time when thousands are hoping against hope that their missing loved ones will be miraculously found and brought home, a teenager found alive but unwanted. The 16-year-old who was rescued but has a tragic story to tell of abandonment and anguish.
As the choppers touch down at the Gochar Air Base, they ferry both happy endings and heartbreaking ones. Reunions of families who had almost given up hope, and final farewells though the heart refuses to accept it. But rare is the story where a miraculous rescue from the upper reaches of the Himalayas still has a tinge of extreme sadness. Meet Bubbly, all of 16 years old. When the torrents hit, an electricity pole toppled on her head, sending a shock current through her body. She says a woman held on to her hand and stopped her from being swept away. We found Bubbly at a police chowki on the road between Devprayag and Srinagar. Assuming initially that she was soon to be reunited with her family, as we talked to her, we uncovered the horror and sadness of her personal story. We asked her what was a little girl doing up at Gaurikund by herself before she was rescued by the ITBP. She tells us she is effectively an orphan. Her father is dead, her mother married someone else and abandoned her. She says her aunt put her in a car and parceled her off to Gaurikund.
वहाँ अकेली आप क्या कर रही थी? आपको आपकी अपनी ताई जी ने भेज दिया आपको वहाँ?
तो ताई ने बिठाया मुझे उत्तराखंड।
The police now has a serious dilemma. The woman constable sent to escort Bubbly home does not want to take her back to a hostile environment. As we talk further, we discover that the aunt had married off Bubbly, or rather given her away to an older man who already had 3 children. This man used to beat her up and one day threw her out. The cops try and connect to the so-called husband, but he switched off his phone and refuses to take any of their calls. Bubbly now cannot be taken back to the aunt who gave her away or to the man who threw her out. Listening to us debate her options, she quietly munches on a bag of chips, saying very little.
मतलब मैं निकलना चाहती थी, ताई जबरदस्ती मतलब डंडे निकाल देते मेरे लिए मारने के लिए।
घर से निकाल दिया? हाँ? ताई ने घर से निकाल दिया आपको?
तो वो रखना नहीं चाहते थे मुझे पहले।
As we reach Devprayag, we seek the help of local reporters and villagers to try and find relatives and family to whom Bubbly can be returned. But at the little town square, her story is a subject of gossip and ridicule. The children laugh. The elders say she's run away in the past and now nobody wants her back. Bubbly gives us some names of villagers she says were kind to her. The police calls every single one of them. Mamas and chachas, aunts and grandaunts, even her 12-year-old brother. But not one person is willing to even talk to her on the telephone. The police say they may have no option but to look for a Nari Niketan or a children's shelter for Bubbly. Rescued from the jaws of death only to now find herself unwanted, abandoned, unloved. These are the individual tragedies that are thrown up by Uttarakhand every single day. And this one's even sadder because it's about a little girl. But here's the irony. Here's the story of someone whom no one in her family wants. Yet for the most part here in Uttarakhand, the only people we meet are relatives desperate for some news on their missing family members. They would give anything to be reunited with them. Also on the road between Srinagar and Devprayag, we meet an injured Purohit from the Kedarnath temple. His ribs broken, his eardrums ruptured. Shiv Prashad Poshti is now being taken down the many hours to a Dehradun hospital. At this highway rest house, he tells us that his 20-year-old son has been missing for the last 12 days. He now knows that missing at this late stage is only a euphemism for death.
कुछ उम्मीद अभी रखते हैं कि कहीं से निकला है?
क्या उम्मीद रखेंगे आप ये? है ना?
नहीं उम्मीद।
उसका मिलना तो बहुत मुश्किल है मुझे।
कुछ कोशिश की आपने ढूंढने की?
ढूंढने की उस टाइम तो की कोशिश बहुत कोशिश की लोगों ने। कि भाई कहीं मिल जाओ। 2 दिन तक वहाँ पड़े रहे हम ऐसे ही।
और अब सड़क पे बैठ के अब अस्पताल की तरफ जा रहे हैं, जगह जगह लैंडस्लाइड है,
जगह जगह परेशानी है जी।
तो कैसे आप लोग इतना हिम्मत रखते हैं? आप काफी अभी भी बड़े संभले हुए तरीके से काम कर रहे हैं, आपका बेटा गायब है, आपको लगता नहीं वो वापस आएगा, आपको चोट है, इतनी ताकत कहाँ से लाते हैं आप लोग?
सब भगवान प्रभु केदार बाबा की ही कृपा है सब है। उन्होंने 10 मिनट में तांडव दिखाया अपना और खत्म कर दिया सारा। तब क्या करेंगे, उन्हीं की हिम्मत है ये अभी।
Such is the irony, a father who has lost his son and a daughter whom no one wants. The loneliness of loss and in Bubbly's case, the loneliness sometimes of the living. In Uttarakhand, with Manoj Thakur, Ruby Dhingra and Noman Siddiqui, Barkhadak for NDTV.